Hello and welcome to Annie's Short Stories. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. Abbey's Ghostly Choir. The ferry from Portsmouth sliced through the frothy waters of the Solent, delivering Holly Arnold to the Isle of Wight under a shroud of low-hanging mist. She disembarked with her backpack, camera, and a bundle of notebooks, ready to uncover the mystery of Quarr Abbey's ghostly choir, a legend that had haunted her since childhood. Locals whispered about spectral monks whose eerie chants echoed through the abbey ruins at twilight. It was said their hymns foretold calamities, a fire at a nearby village, a shipwreck off the coast, and even a landslide that had swallowed part of the abbey itself centuries ago. Determined to separate fact from folklore, Holly, a journalist with a penchant for uncovering dark histories, had made it her mission to investigate. The abbey rose from the landscape like a wounded sentinel, its red brick facade streaked with moss and shadowed by towering oaks. Holly entered through a crumbling archway, her footsteps crunching on a gravel path. The air felt heavier here, laden with the scent of damp earth and something metallic. She approached Father Adrian, the abbey's caretaker, who greeted her with a polite but wary smile. A gaunt man in his 60s, his weathered face bore the strain of sleepless nights. "You're here about the choir, aren't you?" he said. Holly nodded. "I've heard the stories." Father Adrian's gaze shifted to the abbey's darkened nave. "You'll find answers, but not all questions are meant to be asked." As dusk fell, the once grand hall was a skeletal remnant of its former glory. Its vaulted ceiling had collapsed centuries ago, leaving only jagged edges open to the night sky. Shadows danced in the flickering beam of her flashlight as she adjusted her camera. Then it began. Low, sonorous chants rolled through the ruins, harmonizing with the wind. The voices were guttural yet melodic, weaving a tapestry of sound that sent chills up Holly's spine. She pressed record on her camera and scanned the area, but no one was there. The chanting grew louder, filling the nave with an almost tangible force. Holly's breath quickened as the air seemed to vibrate around her. She clutched her notebook, scribbling descriptions of the sound words like a haunting, otherworldly, and inexplicably sorrowful. Suddenly, a phrase in Latin broke through the melody. "Judicium venturum est, judgment is coming." Holly froze. The chant wasn't just eerie, it was a warning. The next day, Holly delved into the abbey's archives with Father Adrian's reluctant permission. Dusty tomes and brittle parchments revealed a dark history. In the 14th century, the abbey had been a place of refuge during a devastating plague. But rather than offering sanctuary, the monks had betrayed their trust, sealing the sick and dying within the abbey walls to protect themselves. The betrayal had not gone unnoticed. Survivors of the plague, families of the abandoned, had stormed the abbey, dragging the monks to the nave and exacting brutal vengeance. The abbey's collapse had begun that very night, burying the slain monks beneath its foundations. Legend claimed their spirits remained, doomed to chant their sorrow and guilt for eternity. Holly's research also uncovered a chilling pattern. Every time the ghostly choir's chants intensified, disaster followed. The landslide, the fires, the shipwrecks all had occurred within days of reported hauntings. That evening, Holly returned to the nave, determined to record more evidence. As she set up her camera, she noticed a faint glow emanating from the altar. She approached cautiously, her flashlight revealing a series of ancient carvings. Among them was an inscription in Latin, "Sanguis redimitu, blood will redeem." The chanting resumed, louder and more urgent than before. Holly's heart pounded as the ground beneath her feet began to tremble. She stumbled backward, her flashlight clattering to the floor and plunging the nave into darkness. A figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in tattered robes. Its face was obscured, but its hollow eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The apparition raised a skeletal hand, pointing directly at Holly. "Leave this place," it intoned. Terrified but resolute, Holly raised her camera. "Why are you here? What do you want?" The apparition's voice grew softer, almost mournful. "To warn, to atone. Blood has sealed our fate, and blood will seal yours." Holly fled the abbey that night, but her footage revealed something horrifying as the chanting reached its crescendo. From it had seeped a crimson mist, writhing like a living entity. The apparition's final words echoed in her mind, a grim prophecy she couldn't shake. Days later, a storm lashed the Isle of Wight. Lightning struck the Abbey, igniting a fire that consumed its remaining structure. Though Holly had escaped unharmed, she knew the disaster wasn't coincidental. Even now, as she reviewed her notes and footage, the chant seemed to follow her, haunting her dreams and waking moments alike. The ghostly choir of Quarr Abbey had delivered its warning, but Holly couldn't shake the feeling that its judgment was far from over. Determined to understand the prophecy's full implications, Holly sought out Dr. Marcus Belgrave, an expert in paranormal linguistics and ancient curses. His office, nestled in the shadow of Carisbrooke Castle, was cluttered with books, relics, and arcane symbols. Dr. Belgrave examined Holly's recordings with a mix of fascination and dread. This isn't just a haunting. The monks' chants are a ritual. They're believed to contain something far worse. Holly asked, her voice trembling. The crimson mist you captured is no natural phenomenon. It's a manifestation of an ancient curse, unleashed by blood spilled on sacred ground. The monks' betrayal and subsequent deaths created a breach. Holly's stomach turned. Belgrave's expression darkened. The ritual can only be undone by an act of ultimate sacrifice. The life given willingly on the cursed ground might close the breach. The ruins were eerily quiet, the air oppressive. As she stepped into the nave, the ground beneath her felt alive, pulsating with an unseen energy. The crimson mist seeped up from the fissure, curling around her like grasping fingers. The chants began anew, mournful and desperate. Holly knew what she had to do. She whispered a silent prayer, clutching a relic she'd borrowed from Belgrave, a dagger blessed by ancient rites. "If blood will redeem, then let it be mine," she said. The mist recoiled as if understanding her intent. Holly stepped closer to the fissure, raising the blade above her palm. Before she could act, the apparition reappeared, its skeletal hand resting gently on her shoulder. "But not you." A blinding light erupted from the altar as Father Adrian emerged from the shadows, chanting in Latin. The relic dagger was in his hand, his resolve unshakable. With a final, sorrowful glance at Holly, he plunged the blade into his chest, collapsing into the fissure. The crimson mist screamed a sound that shook the very earth before retreating into the fissure. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.